Hello and welcome to Hello Yellow. This is a program where we showcase some very inspiring businesses, people or brands, and today we have all three of those here in our company. I'm delighted to introduce to you Stefan, who started his own limoncello business called Solbevi. Please join me in welcoming him to the program even. Welcome, Steph. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great. So you're on brand with Hello Yellow.
Yes, I know. It's all really tying in well together, isn't it?
Yeah. So tell us, I mean, obviously I'm a big advocate for limoncello, but this is a Limoncello Spritz.
Yeah, so the can's a Limoncello Spritz. So it was the first of its kind in Australia when I launched it. So the product arose from the limoncello, the liqueur, which I make all myself, and then the can was the sort of hero product.
So what made you do it?
Oh, it's a bit of a long story. So I'm Italian, I'm from the north, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Ciao, bello.
So it throws a few people off. They think I'm very Australian until they hear my name.
Yeah.
So I've been making limoncello my whole life with family and friends and things like that. Never really thought of selling it, but a couple of years ago, actually it was during COVID, I was making some limoncello spritzes with some friends legally. And they,
legally? There was no IL in front of that.
No, legally. We were allowed to share the bubble or whatever it was together.
Yeah.
And we just, honestly, it was a passing comment, how come no one's put a limoncello spritz in a can? It's becoming popular. It's sort of popping up on Italian restaurants' menus, more so as the takeaway options at the time. And it was a passing comment, and I thought I must just look into it. And 2-3 years later, I managed to launch it and change my life, my career. So
that's such a huge, like it's a lot in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
And you know, I was in Italy earlier this year, and limoncello spritzes are just everywhere, and they are so delicious.
Yeah.
And you know, whilst you sort of just fast forward, there is so much that goes into from packaging to understanding, you know, how do you get it into stores, to the ratios of, you know, the ingredients, legalities with alcohol. So, you know, how did you get through all of that?
It's a bit of a tough one. So I started in construction, and I have been until 4 weeks ago for the last 9 years.
Construction?
Yeah, so tier 1 sort of commercial construction and project management. So not on the tools, so these hands are good for typing emails still, which is good.
Still nice and soft.
That's it. So it was extremely tough. I mean, completely different industry. The terminology, the legalities was a big one. I've got a good story for that. Just everything was different. How do you put, you know, I was making a litre at a time at home and then spritzing it up in like a soda stream. How do you go from making 1 litre to 5,000 litres, which was our first batch? It's just a complete different ballgame. So to be honest, it was just a bit of persistence. I have a big passion for it, so I think that is a big driver and a reason that I got to the point to where we are now, is just the passion behind it, but it was just plugging away slowly.
And how important was that passion for you to keep driving it? And I know there's a really lovely family story, and you know, I've got friends who do their annual sausage making or tomato making, pureeing. How important was that to annex that to this business?
Pretty important. I feel as though with, you know, and I'm obviously relatively new to business, but I feel as though with any business you can't be successful, or you can't do it unless you're passionate. It's like any job as well. I've always said, and I still stand by it, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So that passion was pretty important. And to be honest, it's the reason I do it every day, and it doesn't feel like I'm working. I love it. Like I'm selling an alcohol that I make. It's pretty fun. So,
you know, you went from just drinking it amongst friends, and now it's sort of on a mass scale.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you didn't think that you would endure, that you are or have gone through now?
Well, there's a few. So yeah, legalities was a big one. You know, with our packaging. So I love our packaging. That's probably our biggest compliment we get.
It's amazing. I love Yellow, just in case.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I do know that. When I put it forward to Coles and things like that, one of the questions they asked was, have you got ABAC approval? And I was like...
ABAC?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, of course we do.
What's ABAC?
Didn't know what ABAC was at the time. Yeah. So it's they're like a governing body that sort of judges your packaging to make sure it's safe and doesn't encourage, you know. So with us, our issue was drinking while swimming, because there's someone in a lilo.
Right.
But she doesn't have a can or a drink in her hand, so they agreed that it just showed lifestyle, because I was going for the Italian Mediterranean lifestyle. You're sitting there enjoying yourself, and that's what that was. So that just scraped through. So things like that. The other issue was just, like I said, scaling up so quickly from 1 litre to 5,000 litres, and we just did 15,000 litres last week. How many differences there are between the batches, and there can be variances. The scale is so big, so any change in ingredients is quite significant, and everything that just goes with that. The cans have to be correct. Everything has to be just spot on to work. So I guess adapting to things that I can't necessarily control. I don't make the packaging. We help make the liquid, but at the end of the day, I don't can it. All those sort of things, they're with external parties that we use. And if they make an error, and it becomes my error. So that's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah, well, because you have to let go, right? You
have to let go, yeah.
In order to grow, you have to let go of...
Exactly.
Well, there's a saying, in order to grow, you have to let go. Because, this was your baby in the home space.
Yep.
And then, so how do you actually do that? How do you let go of control of something that's so important? And I do know that there's variations even on the, on the limoncello itself.
Yeah, there's different ways to make it.
Yeah.
How do I let go? Don't really know. I don't think I ever let go, really. It keeps me up at night. So, some things that I know in my head that no one else knows about. It's hard. To be honest, I don't really let go. It is what it is. Once you've put 60,000 cans together, it is what it is. You can't just go and throw them away. You just push forward and find a way around it.
And how hard was it for you? There'll be a lot of people. I mean, in this day and age, most people want to run their own business, certainly the young kids of today, and that's absolutely fine and wonderful. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you think, I'm going to let go of everything that's safe from a financial point of view and just take that leap? What was it? What was the thing that pushed you to say, I'm just going to jump and I'm going to do it?
It's a tough question. I think there was a few things. There was some personal things that happened in my life that was probably the final decider to just say, stuff it, let's do it. But I was, sitting on a very, very good wage for my age, and I have been since I was 18. So I'm now currently on no income and no wage, no nothing, and just sort of living off the last few $1,000s that I have. So pretty tough change. But my thought was, I'm 26. If I don't have a crack, I'll never know. And if I fail, I'll just go back and get a job in construction. I have a pretty good rapport with a lot of the construction companies in Melbourne. I still get job offers, so if I fail, I'm young enough to go back and work the rest of my life to make that money back. So
just have a go and see what happens, yeah?
If you don't know, you got to risk it, I think. Life's all about taking risks. That's what I tell myself anyway. I think so many people could start a business, but they just don't take the risk because they're a bit too scared, which is fine. And, I don't have kids. I have a long-term partner, which makes things a lot easier too. So, really, I've got nothing to lose other than a bit of money. But boo-hoo, you can make that back.
Your family being Italian, though, how were they supportive? Because
Not at the start.
Not at the start. As I've got a European background, and everything's about safety. Yeah. Buy the house, do the right thing, yada yada. So, if someone's listening or watching and they're thinking, well, look, I've got, whatever their parents are that we have, what would you say to them and how to approach that conversation with their family?
Oh, it's pretty tough. Just, obviously expect to get sort of rejected to a degree, but don't let that stop if you have a belief that it's going to work or you have a dream or you have a passion to do it, just do it. I'm sure, and if it's successful, you prove your family wrong, which is, you're not doing it in a bad way, but it's a nice thing and it's more rewarding to know that, what I've built is actually worked. And so then they'll jump on the ride with you, no doubt. That's what my parents did.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. And so the things that give you, that propel and momentum to keep you going, what were some things that surprised you that you think weren't going to happen as quickly?
Our growth, to be honest, it's been, as you know, 4 months, so it's still very early, but I didn't think we'd be in 105 Dan Murphy stores.
105 Dan Murphy stores.
Yeah, so we started within 10 days of launching. We had a meeting finally after about 35 emails that I sent. Got a meeting and got in 9 as a trial. And then 2 weeks ago, they just said, you know what, your sales have been really good. We think this is going to be the drink of summer, which is what I hashtag all the time. We're going to give you 105 stores. Go nuts. So the growth has probably been the scariest but best bit. I didn't really expect us to grow that quickly. And was I prepared for it? From a financial point of view, no, but, as like I said before, you just take it as it comes and keep going, find a way.
So how are you going to manage that growth moving forward?
Haven't really thought about it, to be honest. All I know in my head is that we're going to have a big summer, and we have to have a big summer, and if we don't, we'll shut the doors probably. Like it's just how it is. It's black or white. You go and spend a lot of money on buying your product, and then if you don't sell it, well, then you don't survive. So I think I'll just, all I can do is work as hard as I can. There's 24 hours in a day, so use as many hours as I can to go out there and sell it and make sure that it does actually sell and it does become a viable business.
And what were some of the things that surprised you about working in this particular industry that you hadn't considered, whether it's the industry or the business itself?
I think, maybe not that I hadn't considered, but something I'm not used to is the rejection, a lot of rejection. Although we are probably one of the only Limoncello Spritzes in a can, Limoncello does exist, but even so, Limoncello is not that popular of a drink just yet. It's becoming a lot more popular, but you get a lot of rejection. Like people are like, why? Why should I use it? And they're like, or they'll just see a branded top and they go, you're a rep, don't have time for you. So that's probably the hardest thing I'm dealing with and struggling to deal with. I've never really been rejected too much in my life, in construction anyway, so it's something I'm adapting to.
Any rejection?
I was a little bit when I was younger, but I've had a nine-year relationship, so I'm pretty safe in that aspect.
So, like with the rejection, we've all experienced it on some level.
Yep.
How do you keep going and pick yourself up, and what's the critic say internally, and how do you keep propelling forward and keep knocking on those doors? Like what are the things that go through your head?
I definitely, after a couple, I'm definitely get pretty flat. And sometimes I'll go home and I'll be like, you know what, I just can't do any more today, because then I know my attitude's really bad and poor at the time, so that's not going to help me sell it. So I come back and I reset, and then I'll go out a few hours later. But I think if you want to make a business work, you got to just keep going and going and going. So backing out and just pulling the pin is not the solution. And at the end of the day, this is my livelihood. This is what hopefully will pay my bills soon. So I've got no choice. Like if I want to make money and I want it to be a successful business, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love it. And if I want it to be a big business like I dream it for it to be, then I've just got to keep going, just keep showing up.
And so when you dream, do you actually visualise? Like what are some of the tactics or strategies that you employ?
I dream about having my own office one day and having a team there, and I'm supporting them and their families. Like that's a dream that I have, and doing that by growing the business. So it's rewarding in my head when I visualise that day. So, all this hard work that I'm putting now will hopefully pay off, and then support people down the track. Like one thing I would love is for my mum in particular, who doesn't have necessarily the best job in the world and earns very, very little. I'd love for her to come work with me, and then I'm supporting my mum, and it's my way of saying thanks and giving back, because at the moment I've got no money to give her, but that's how I can do it. So little things like that. It's just, I visualise, I guess, the reward down the track.
And what are some of the things that have surprised you positively by being on this journey at this point?
Support from family and friends. I used to hear the saying, I feel blessed, and I used to be like, that's a bit of a funny comment, but I genuinely feel extremely blessed with how supportive family and friends have been. It's crazy. Like as soon as I sort of announced, because I hid the business for the 2 years that I was building it, and then when I launched, the support was just amazing.
Why did you hide it, just out of interest? Like because
I didn't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to be a failure. So I wanted it to be, people come up with ideas, but actually executing and doing it is another thing. So, and I've thought of starting many businesses, but actually getting it to a point where you're ready to launch is a complete different thing. So I didn't want to say, hey, I'm doing this, and then not do it. So once I was in a position and I was ready to go, and I paid for a stupid amount of cans to be made, and I had all my money into it, I was like, okay, now I can tell people. And I needed the help from friends and family, going into stores. It's not about the sale. The sales is so important to us. It's not about the money from the sale. It's about the sort of the sales targets we have to hit to grow in Dan Murphy's and to stay in stores.
So you said you had a number of different business ideas, and I think everybody has ideas. Like everyone has a plethora of things, and an idea is only as good as the person or thing that implements it.
Yep.
So what was it about this one in particular that you went, I'm just going to, balls and all, I'm going to do it, as opposed to anything else?
Yeah, I guess probably last year I went to Europe, and similar to what you just mentioned before, I saw that Limoncello Spritz was absolutely everywhere, and it just sort of solidified my decision to say, hey, I reckon this is going to be popular here. Because again, no one had done it yet, no one had put it into a can, and I could just see that next year, so this was last year, people were a bit too afraid to travel because of COVID still, so we were one of few. And I could just imagine that next year, being the year just gone, people will come. And everyone that I know went overseas, including yourself, went overseas to Italy and things like that and came back. And one of the biggest comments I hear is, I've been drinking Limoncello Spritzes all the time in Italy. So it just showed me that, that decision I had last year to actually make it a thing was worth it, because now it's worked out the perfect timing. We launched in August on purpose. So when people came back, they thought, I've just been drinking Limoncello Spritz. Yes. They see the can, it reminds them of them being there, and hopefully they buy it. Yes, the Positano, memories on the Amalfi Coast, drinking, taking your sensory back. Exactly, that's what that's trying to do, make you picture that sort of lifestyle and being there and enjoying it and being away, and it's meant to just, I guess, transport you to being back there. And I'm sure, the whole category, so the Aperol Spritz and all of those sorts of things certainly help the inertia. For sure. Aperol Spritz is a big one. Like they've absolutely killed it. So we want to compete with them. It's a big dream, but one of the things that we said when I started the business was you always see Aperol and Campari on the shelf. Like, why is there no limoncello? It's a similar thing. It's a similar drink. You can mix it. You can have it straight. You've got the orange, the red. Let's add a yellow to the shelf and be on the back bar of every venue we can. And what makes this so much better than all of its competitors? I make it. Nah. Well, it's a family recipe, isn't it? Yeah. The story is probably the biggest thing, and what's helped us so much is the fact that it came from a family recipe that I then changed and modernised a little bit because I wanted to. Limoncello's always been there, but I wanted to bring it to the Australian market, so the branding and everything that goes with it was important. But I think that's why, like the story, I go to Dan Murphy's and I do tastings. I did one again on Friday and Saturday. I always do them myself. Which is really important because you're at the forefront of the consumer, and 100%. Then you're also at that place where you can see where, you can overcome the obstacles if people, it's too sweet or it's too this or it's too that. Yeah. So then you can actually make those changes. Yeah, exactly right. And I think the personal tie, the fact that people see me there trying to sell my own product and they hear that I make it and all that sort of stuff makes a huge difference. And that's something I don't want to lose as we grow is, I guess the face behind the brand, the personal touch to it. I don't want to be some big conglomerate. I want people to remember that it is a family, like it started from family ties. So it's pretty important. And I do love the story when we were talking recently about how it came to be. So you guys it was in COVID. Yep. But tell us that story about that situation, because it definitely speaks then to the heart of this program, that through, adverse times, through difficulty, we were all struggling through COVID. We weren't allowed to see one another, and, there was such an instability during that period of time. And the picture that you created in my mind when you were telling the story about your friends sitting on the balcony. And so tell the audience a little bit about that. I guess that story is what sort of ties the brand back to one of our core values, and that's that, family and friends, you're meant to have an awesome time with them, you're meant to enjoy their company. And so when we were sitting on that balcony that day, there was 4 of us. It was me, Darcy, my best mate, and the 2 girlfriends at the time, who still are. One's a wife now. That's beautiful. I'm still just, not there yet. No, you've got your other baby right now. That's exactly right. Yeah. And we were enjoying each other's company, and we're like, why? Like, everyone should enjoy each other's company with their friends and family, and this is a way to do it. This is how we do it, so why can't everyone else do it? I know it's such an Italian thing to have limoncello and make it together and drink it together, but our thought was like the Aussie demographic. We live in Australia, but we have a good drinking culture here, which is a very social culture, and so we want people to have the memories that we had, and like you said, they were difficult times. We weren't allowed to do too much. You could hang out with 1 or 2 people. But when we hung out together and we were drinking this, we're having so much fun together. So we just wanted to propel that across Australia, really. And just so when people grab one, the only time they're drinking it is when they're enjoying themselves with family and friends. And so when you've obviously sponsored a few events already. Yep. And so when you see people drinking your product, how does it make you feel? Oh, it's pretty satisfying. Yeah. I remember the first time, the events has been amazing, seeing the general public drinking it, but I still think the first time I saw my best mates drink it, because I was sharing a house with them at the time, and they were always seeing me make it, and they were just drinking it for fun. they were away for all of this year, and they just came back probably 3 weeks ago, and they came to my house, and all of them were drinking it together, and that was probably the most rewarding moment I've had, just seeing them standing there drinking it and enjoying it. And again, we're enjoying ourselves over a drink with our friends. Like, it's just so important to me. So probably I just got goosebumps telling that story. It's probably one of the most rewarding moments I've had. Yeah.
And what drives you? You're highly motivated.
Yep.
What drives you? What gets you up every morning?
Oh, I have this desire to be successful. Like, I don't want to be a failure. I want to be able to provide for, like I said, my family, and in particular my partner, my girlfriend. You know, especially in these times where I'm not earning any money and I've got only $5,000 to my name, she's supporting me. She's carrying me through. Like, I get home from being out on sales all day and she'll be cooking and cleaning, and although it's minor stuff, it adds up. It's an hour of my day that I can lose, but she cooks and cleans and she buys the groceries, she's paying the rent. So the drive to, I guess, succeed and be successful, and not necessarily make a shitload of money, but just do well so that I can provide for her, and again, my family, to say thank you for all the stuff they've done for me in the past, is probably the biggest thing. And then again, so people can just, like, I'd really want to see people enjoying this together with each other. It's super important.
But surely there are days you lie there, and it's a beautiful sentiment. You've got a beautiful value base. Does that come from your family? Like, what are those values? Have they come from the nonna, the nonne, the mum, the dad? Where does it come from?
I don't know. I think the Italian side of things, you know, they're all about family. And in Italy, we live to work here in Australia. Over there, they work to keep themselves alive and survive.
They do, they really do. And they're so happy with the most simplest
exactly.
Sometimes I just think, I wish we could have more of that here in Australia. We're just on this treadmill of work and not really enjoying. There's so many mental health issues, and I was in Calabria, and I was on one, the beach fronts, and there was this guy called Giovanni, and he'd just get up every morning, and his kids would be hosing, getting all the sun tents ready, so happy, coffee. That was his life.
It's a simple life.
Doesn't want anything more than that.
Exactly.
So do you feel like those sorts of values have come through from 100%. Your family?
100%. I think, like, we spend so much time as family together, especially growing up, and Italians in general, like, I still go to my grandparents' house, and the only thing they care about is making sure that we're okay and giving, like, have we eaten, have we drunk, have we done this, have we done that? That's all they care about, is their family. So, I think it stems from that. The grandparents are a big one. But
integrating the Italian culture, and I can say this because I have European culture too, into the Australian culture can sometimes be quite challenging. So you're highly driven, very clear about where that value base comes from. Are there times where they're at a juxtaposition because you're an Italian boy living in Australia? Are there times where that you grapple with which way to go, or when you? Yeah,
there is, because I've been here living in Australia, so all my friends are Australian, so I've adapted so much of their culture and things like that it's made it a bit easier. But I remember in school in particular, like, I would not show my Italian side at all. And then I'd go home and I'd speak Italian, and I'd eat like a king and all that sort of stuff.
No salami sandwiches, Mum. No, I don't want that.
Pretty much. It's what it was like, because I was a bit embarrassed. But now I think as we're getting older, and I think because people are travelling so much and to Italy is like the new best thing.
Oh, it is.
I think it's helping, and it's making life a lot easier. And it's probably partly why this has been so successful to date, is because it's got those Italian ties. And that's shifting, that mentality's shifting. Everyone wants to be in Italy. Everyone wants to go there on holiday and live, la dolce vita and all that sort of stuff.
So Same with Malta as well.
Yeah.
I've got a Maltese background, so Malta's now on the map. I'm like, shh, no,
stay away. Our little village in Italy has now become a tourist town. It's the worst. It sucks when you go there now, but
Well, it's wonderful. And, I know that you're high energy, but I also know that some days you would lie in bed and you'd be like, how am I going to get up and do this rejection thing again? Yeah. What do you do? What goes through your head at that point?
I don't know. It's just, I don't really have a choice. I think you just, you have to do. You have to get up and you have to do it. Like, there's no point sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or thinking, I can't do this. And you're right. It does happen. You've probably seen me a couple of days where I'm just down and not myself. you know what I've been doing? I've been going in the water every morning.
Ah.
People have been talking about it, and I'm lucky I live near the beach, so I get in the water and I sit there and I kind of meditate for a couple of minutes and just sort of psych myself up for the day, because the beach is nice and cold at the moment. So yeah, find a way, and that's a mental thing. This morning was horrible weather, and it's just like, doesn't matter. Get up, get in there, and then I guess you can bring that into the business and just your life in general. Just get up, just do it. So
get up and
that's what I'm really trying to focus on that at the moment, because I need to be positive in what I do, and as soon as you become a little bit negative, that sort of spreads and people can feel it.
And it's so important to be positive when you are selling something.
Yeah.
So this toolkit is really important, because a lot of people can sit in it.
Yeah.
And to hear from you that water's a great shifter of energy, and sometimes just get up and move. And and just acknowledge that you're feeling stressed, tired, sad, some maybe self-doubting.
Yeah.
Just get up, move through it, and something good will happen that day. You might get a tick for another 100 Dan Murphys throughout Australia.
Yeah, no, that's
or
true.
your sales have gone through the roof, or you've got a great marketing company that's supporting you.
That's correct. That is correct.
And people are connecting you. So I think that's a really great mantra to share with our audience, that if you are feeling like it's a little bit insurmountable, just get up and move and do something that's actually going to help shift you from the negative to the positive. And
moving's a big thing, I think, as well. You're right.
Yeah.
Like going for a walk, even going to the gym, I think it's pretty important. It just helps clear your head. I used to go for runs. That used to be my old thing when I was in construction. I used to get up and just go run 3K, and just it clears your head, because the stress and the anxiety and stuff builds up. It does. So I think you just need to find. So I've just found something. I need to find something.
Water.
Yeah, and I found the water, and the water's been awesome. I love it. I go for a walk in the morning at 5 o'clock, and then I'll put myself in the water, sit there for 3 or 4 minutes, just sometimes say a prayer and hope that our sales go extremely, extremely well, or just meditate, and it helps. Gets you ready for the day.
And it's so important that we have these conversations, because we can sit here and say how amazing this business is, and how great it is in the growth and everything. But you have to have the self-care, and that is the truism of life and being successful and being a business person, is that you don't have one without the other, and you do
100%.
have to acknowledge that nothing worthwhile comes easily.
No,
So we connect with our audience through understanding that it's not all rainbows and fairy tales.
That's one thing that I'm trying to tell people, is that it's like, my friends always go, "Oh, you're killing it, 105 Dan Murphy stores," and it's unbelievable, and it is. But they don't see all the stuff that goes on in the background. And, I'm working 16 hours a day at the moment, 7 days a week, and that's not a lie. I'm super stressed, but I go in the water, and that helps me every morning. They don't see the stuff in the background, and it genuinely is a killer. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I hear those stories, and I used to think, but how much of that is true? It's all true. Like, on the outset, it looks amazing, and it's going really well, and I'm not discounting that, but it is a lot of hard work, especially as one person. So that's why I'm focusing so much on that mental side of things, and just focusing on it, because if I become negative to anything, then it'll have an impact to my business, and I don't need that.
And you're a naturally very positive person, and I think
Try to be.
just having those signposts to tick for success, to have a moment of reflection and celebration, and it might just be you just being really proud of what you're doing at different points. So you do have to celebrate your successes along the way.
I'm a big believer in that, yes.
Otherwise, you end up going, well, this is not, and you focus on that stuff. So,
100%. I'll make sure we go for a dinner or a drink, like the smallest things. I think you just need to,
mark them.
You need to enjoy them. Like, otherwise we just go through working, like we spoke about before. But even if I grab a friend and I go out for dinner and go, hey, this is what I did. We smashed 105 stores. How good's that? Have a drink together. That's it's a celebration. So.
And I heard on a podcast myself the other day that happiness and joy is the journey. It's not the actual destination.
Exactly.
So you keep doing what you're doing. What's up? Is there anything in the pipe works for next year that we can talk about, or not yet?
There's a bit going on. So the biggest focus is obviously having a huge summer and just really growing brand awareness through good marketing as well. We are sort of keeping this on the hush, but we have a very unique opportunity in the United States. So we're heading there on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Just to explore it, because again, you get these opportunities, you need to explore them. Like, it could lead to nothing, but who cares? At least I've had the life experience. So that's our mentality. Again, you got to risk it. You just got to take these opportunities. So I've never been to the States, so that's happening on Saturday. Next year, we're going to release 2 new products. And obviously this is a very summery drink, and the name is Solbevi, sun and drink in Italian. So it's a very summery drink. So my concern in the head and what I'm thinking about is winter. So we're going to release 2 new products later in the year, next year, to sort of, bring a bit more hype back to the business and things like that. So I actually just signed those off yesterday.
Fantastic.
They taste pretty good, and the branding looks pretty cool. So they're ready to go. And this next year will be, other than keeping the business afloat, we've got a few ventures overseas that have sort of come out of nowhere and we're exploring pretty actively.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Watch this space. For those who are listening or watching, head down to your local Dan Murphy's and get yourself a packet of Solbevi and Limoncello. It's a great Christmas gift, or any gift all year round. So thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you every success for the future, and no doubt it will fly.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening or watching. We'll see you next time.